Starting in 1877, African Americans started to lose their freedoms. Some laws that limited their freedoms included Jim Crow laws, which kept African Americans and whites separated through there's things like white schools and colored schools, and like white water fountains and colored water fountains. There was a poll tax that was created, which is a sum of money that was to be paid before a person could vote, just to keep people from voting, I guess. There was a literacy test, which to vote, voters had to pass a test. Many African Americans were denied education and therefore couldn't pass the literacy test. Many of them couldn't vote, so even though they got their freedom from slavery, they were still being held back from voting on who should be leaders and stuff. There was a grandfather clause, which was a law to disqualify African American voters by allowing the vote only to men whose fathers and grandfathers were before 1867.
Booker T. Washington was a black leader during the 19th century, and this was a really big deal at that time period. And then W.E.B. Du Bois, a native of Great Barrington, Massachusetts, who named his PhD from Harvard. This was also a really big deal because it was one of the biggest schools that you can get your learning from. And he criticized Booker T. Washington's willingness to accommodate Southern whites. He argued the blacks should not have full and immediate equality. So this was a big racial conflict at that time period.
Ida B. Wells was an American woman who fought for justice. She was an American journalist, she was an educator, and she was also involved in the Civil Rights Movement. She was also one of the founders of the National Association for Advanced Colored People, and during this time there's also Chinese immigrants that face discrimination.
Mexican Americans also struggled against discrimination in the West. Las Guerrillas Blancas, a group that fought back against Mexican discrimination. They cut holes in barbed wire fences and burned the houses of large ranch owners. So they were just retaliating back against the large ranch owners because they didn't like that they were being discriminated against.